Our very own chief international correspondent, James Longman. We're used to seeing him report from all over the world. But James sat down with ABC's Deborah Roberts to talk about his new book, The Inherited Mind, about his own family history. We'd like to warn you that their talk includes mentions of suicide.
James Longman, welcome.
Thank you.
So you and I have been talking about this book. It's a memoir. You talk about your family's journey through mental illness and discovery and hope. What does it feel like to finally have it out?
It's surreal. I mean, my whole life I've felt that this is the story I wanted to tell. My father had schizophrenia. He ended his life when I was 9 years old. His brother also had schizophrenia. My grandfather ended his life. My mother has clinical depression. And the reason I wanted to write the book is because over my life, I've had deep sadness and depression. So I've always wondered, is this in me? Was it written into my code? How? Like, I want to know the science, the genetics, the biology, what's going on a genetic level. But more than that, I wanted to build out the picture of who he really was as a person. I wanted to give him his identity back, to figure out who he was as John Longman, who was a wonderful person away from his illness.
The Inherited Mind. It just literally came out this week, where you explore your own life, as you said. And what strikes me is it's not just a book about trauma and heartbreak and of the suicide of your father, but it's also about science and hope and trying to help people feel that they can have some hope. Is that your intention?
Absolutely. I mean, getting answers to these questions, I think, is important because it can give people hope. So much of the science around mental illness is geared towards giving people answers that can provide them with logic, because logic is what often gets taken away from you when you're feeling deeply depressed or if you have one of these mental illnesses. I think getting answers to what's really going on in our genes is empowering because it will give you the tools to overcome what the code that you were given, because you can. Genes are not everything.
You get very vulnerable in this book. You share some of your own moments of depression and you paint a vivid picture. Was it freeing for you to write this book, or was it more difficult to dig deep like this?
It was freeing. I've always been very honest about the way I feel about my depression. I know that it's what helps me. Speaking to my friends, speaking to my family when I have been down has been the tonic I have needed. So in that sense, I wasn't worried. What I was mostly worried about really was my mother, if I'm really honest, because my mum plays a big role in the book, in my life, and I didn't want to paint her in a really negative way.
And you're very honest about your mom and your difficult relationship with your mom, but yet you give her a chance to have her say in the book as well.
You know, there's often, when a tragedy hits a family, there's the objective truth of what happened, and then there's what people say happened. And often the law in a family becomes more powerful than the reality. And so it was really important for me to have my perspective, my father's perspective, because I get 120 pages of his medical notes where you've got actually what he said when he's in psychosis written in the notes, and my mom's perspective.
I almost get goosebumps just thinking about how honest you are with your colleagues, with people around the world. What are you hearing from people so far?
It's extraordinary. People feel like they have the permission to talk about their own lives. I get messages from people all the time about family members. It's giving people permission to talk about these things. That is what I hope the book does.
James, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is so great. You can pick up a copy of The Inherited Mind. It's in bookstores right now.
A compelling memoir that can help so many. Our thanks to Deborah and to James.